Hey there, it's Lara here with Witchy Wednesday for the week of April 11th to 18th, 2018. So, first off, the obvious question, right? Why am I wearing a toque inside? Well, I'm Canadian, eh? Actually, well, it's April here, and like it is everywhere else in the world, I guess. But April in Northern Ontario, and it just keeps snowing, and so um, spring hasn't come yet, which is we're all really anxiously awaiting right now. But the actual real reason is because I have shingles. I got diagnosed with shingles earlier this week. And if you don't know what shingles are, it's like the adult version of chicken pox kind of thing. Um, but I was fortunate enough to catch it early enough, so I got the antivirals. Um, Not generally a super fan of prescription meds, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? So, anyway, I'm thankful for that. So it hasn't been too bad compared to some of the horror stories I've heard from other people. Um, and ibuprofen has been my friend to kind of manage the pain because it gets a little ouchy sometimes. But anyway, and so this is where it kind of happened the in terms of the rash, and so I figured the toque would be less distracting than the rash, right? So here's me and my toque. Anyway, but I was determined to get this video to you, and boy, let me tell you, this Mercury retrograde can suck it. It has been brutal. I don't know about you guys, but so to make a long story short, I've had like nonstop technical problems going on, and I almost smashed my phone today. Like Hendrix smashed his guitar. Or Kurt Cobain smashed stuff. That was almost me today with my phone. So it's taken me a really long time to get this video done, and a trip to the phone center and everything. But here I am. So, deep breath. It'll still be Wednesday when I get this to you, and that was my goal. And that's kind of the thing right now about this point in time that we're all in. It's we got to be determined, and we can't let all the little setbacks and annoyances stop us from moving forward with what we want to do, right? We have to soldier on. Sometimes it sucks, but gotta do it. And, also have to take the rests and the breaks when we need to, right? And do the things that make us feel good. Like today when I was on my way to the phone center, I was just loudly blasting music because that sort of helped me decompress and process things. And chocolate. And tea. And perhaps wine. But anyway, I just want to say to you a few things before I start with the video. First off, congratulations to Simon, who is the winner of the free reading. So last week's Witchy Wednesday, I told you I was going to give away a free astrology reading, and Simon, who commented on the video last week, is the one who won the reading. So Simon, if you're watching this, congrats, and please do get in touch with me. You can just follow the link below to my website and reach me through there on the contact page, or info@laranewell-barrette.ca, and I will try to connect with you on YouTube to make sure that you know you won if you don't see this. And so what I always do, no matter how few or how many people enter any given contest, whether it's on YouTube or my email subscribers or Facebook contest, Instagram, whatever, I always use a random number generator to choose the winner. And so that way it's fair and square. So stay tuned though, because I'm going to keep doing this on YouTube. Probably about once a month, I will give away a free reading. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that. It's you can click on the red subscribe button underneath the video, or right in the video, there should be a little black button that says subscribe that you can click on. And that way you won't miss, and you'll be eligible to win future contests for free readings. What else? Obviously, if you would like to get a reading with me, you can follow the link below and check out my services and see what's on offer there. And if you missed last week, I put out, one video last week, one video at the beginning of this week on Chiron. Chiron, the wounded healer, which is making a big move into Aries from Pisces, happening this week on April 17th. And so that's a big deal for all of us. And you can find out more about that if you go watch those videos. And I'll put a link below to each of the videos. The first one you should watch is the one called Growing Stronger in the Broken Places. And then the second one is about a little bit more specific about this transit that's about to happen this week. And so just on that note, though, to kind of illustrate, right, astrology in real life, I did mention that as Chiron's moving through the last degrees of Pisces, we could experience some kind of healing crisis. And lo and behold, right? And interestingly enough, I have Chiron, my natal Chiron in Aries. And Aries, every zodiac sign rules a part of the body, right? So Aries rules the head. So where did this breakout happen, right? This shingles thing start for me on my head. So you can kind of see how that works. And then also in the video, I talked about how Chiron's been moving through the 7th house of my personal chart for the last, 7-8 years. And that is all about, the 7th house is the house of personal relationships and contracts. And so there's been a lot of evolution that's happened there, a lot of healing, a lot of upheaval and change and that kind of thing. So, you can hear more about that when you watch the Chiron videos. So just know that that's happening this week, though. That's a significant thing that is happening for all of us. And as Chiron moves into Aries, we're really going to start to feel that shift, and it's going to be a lot of focus on healing of the self. But I'm not going to say too much more about that here. Just go watch the other videos. So, but what else is happening this week? Well, today we have the sun that's making a square to Pluto in Capricorn. So the sun it's like our will, our vitality, our life force, kind of who we are, right? And Pluto is a little planet that packs a big punch. Pluto is the planet that deals with things like the cycle of death and rebirth, not necessarily literally, but transformation, sort of those deep psychological things, secrets, also very much about power and control, and where we feel powerful and where we feel powerless, right? And so this can be the square. A square is a conversation of tension. And so it's like this can go one of two ways, right? I always say to people, there is always a higher vibrational energy and a lower vibrational energy with everything, with all of the signs and the the transits. It's always about our free will and how we deal with it, how we respond. And so this can play out where it's kind of like we discover our own power and our own determination and our own willingness to stand up for ourselves and get stuff done and put ourselves out there and all of that. Or it could be about abuse of power, right? Either on our part or on somebody else's part. And are we going to allow that to happen? And that kind of thing. Or just general feelings of like either feeling very powerful or very powerless in our lives in certain situations and areas. So, that's sort of my take on it anyway. And I had my own kind of experience with that today. So, so that's happening, and that will pass. But as the sun moves on, kind of thing. But the other quite significant thing that's going on, aside from that Chiron moving into Aries, is we have a new moon in Aries happening on the 15th, which is going to happen just before 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's my time zone, so that's what I use. And on that same day, Mercury is going direct. Thankfully, Mercury's going direct. This has been a doozy of a Mercury retrograde. And like life goes on. We can't stop, right? Sometimes we'll hear some astrologers say, don't sign any contracts, don't make any big moves, don't make any big decisions, la la la, all these different things. But it's not realistic, right? So life goes on. We have to keep doing what we have got to do, but we just have to be more mindful and take our time and be patient. And Mercury retrograde is all about reviewing and reflection, perhaps tweaking things or having to redo things, revise things, revisit things, all of those kind of words, right? And that's what we need to use those Mercury retrograde periods for, because Mercury goes retrograde several times every year. So, there may have been an area of life, wherever Aries falls for you in your chart, where you've been experiencing this kind of, it could be like Mercury deals with our communications, right? Any kind of communications with people, like technology, our phones, for example. So there can be issues with that kind of thing that go on, misunderstandings in communication. Flow of information is sometimes messed up or unclear. That kind of thing can go on, right? And so we just have to be patient, and that's all to just make us slow down and to go, to think before we act, and to tweak things and review things, and to cross our T's and dot our I's, and just make sure things are going in the right direction, right? So that's happening on the 15th at the same time as this new moon in Aries. And this new moon in Aries is going to be quite powerful in the sense that, it will really encourage us to make some personal commitments, largely to ourself, because Aries is about the self, right? And that will be an ongoing theme, and a theme that's really highlighted. I mean, it's no coincidence that this new moon is happening on the 15th, and directly after that, Chiron's moving into Aries, right? Like 2 days later, a day and a half later, kind of thing. So a new moon is always about new beginnings in some way. Us setting intentions to do something new or different. It's always about the new. And so this new moon in Aries is really asking us to put the focus on where it is that we are ready to commit to ourselves, right? And to like take charge of our lives, and be a little perhaps more assertive, and a little bit more driven and passionate, and care for ourselves more, make a commitment in that area of life. And again, wherever Aries falls for you in your own personal chart will be where you will feel this the most. And I just realized that once again this week I forgot. It's 2 weeks in a row. I forgot to print out the chart for you. And I'm sorry about that. At least I think, yeah, I didn't print it out. I'm sorry. It's been a day, but I apologize for that, and I'll get back on track next week for sure. Um, but wherever Aries falls for you in your chart, and if I'll say again, if you've had a reading with me, I sent you your chart. I always send it, and you'll see which houses each zodiac sign falls in, right? So you'll have a better idea of that. But um, so it's really, as I said, like about making a personal commitment to yourself, but it's also about being quite brave and courageous in that, right? Like it's time to stop playing small. Um, it's time to it's time to stop putting up with crap, basically. Um, and it's really time for some self empowerment, and also for some really brutal self honesty, for really taking a good look at ourselves and at how we may be, sabotaging ourselves, really, and how we may be contributing to things that are happening in our lives that we don't really like, right? Um, so it's really important because, I say this all the time. You guys hear me say this all the time, but you have to deal with your stuff. You gotta be able to look at that. You have to be able to be really honest with yourself and really courageous about, you know, delving into perhaps the places that are uncomfortable, right? That really need to be witnessed and accepted and cared for and healed. So it's a really good time to do that for some brutal self-honesty. But also, in a compassionate, self-compassionate way, right? So if we think about Aries energy, Aries is about, being the pioneer and very driven by instincts and very ambitious and driven and uh, and self-focused, as I've said before, which is all those qualities are like the higher octave or the higher vibration of Aries. But there can also be a tendency to be, rather than assertive, aggressive, right? Warlike, really more selfish, um, that kind of thing. And so that's not what we want to do. We always want to try to embrace the higher vibrational qualities of the sign or the energy, right? Um, Sometimes that's easier said than done, depending on what's going on with us, stresses and how self aware we are, how conscious we are. All of those things have an impact. And sometimes even the most self aware, conscious, um, you know, guru among us will lose it because stuff happens sometimes, right? We're human, we're all human. And so that's okay. But I think it's the ability to catch ourselves and to recognize that and to go, maybe next time I'm going to choose a different reaction. I'm going to try to, cope with this differently, or maybe not be quite so aggressive, that kind of stuff. But but there are a lot of us who could use a dose of assertiveness in our lives, right? Like of us standing up for ourselves more and deciding that enough is enough, and that we've had enough of a certain situation or perhaps a certain job or a certain belief system, a certain mindset, a certain physical issue we're having, a certain, relationship, whatever. This is a good time if you're at the end of your rope to really consider if that's worth hanging on to, or if it's time to really stand up for yourself and lovingly and in integrity let go of that, right? And move on. So that's basically the new moon in Aries. It's kind of that flavor of what's happening with Chiron moving into Aries, right? It's like very much about the healing of the self. And part of healing ourselves is being able to care for ourselves and be honest with ourselves and stand up for ourselves and be empowered, that kind of thing. So, the other thing that is going to be happening this week on the same day that Chiron is moving into Aries is that Saturn is going to go retrograde. So Saturn is in Capricorn right now, its home sign, and it is, Saturn is about structures and responsibility and tradition and rules and obligations and obstacles and, you know, teaching us things the hard way. But it's also about the long lasting, stable things that we build in our lives, right? That takes hard work. When we work hard, we create lasting things and lasting foundations. And so with Mercury going retrograde, or sorry, with Saturn going retrograde here, which, you know, this is not a big, huge, unusual thing. It happens for about 4.5 months every year. So, but it's, you know, all retrogrades are about, in some way, about perspective, right? And so we may find when Saturn goes retrograde, you know, we may feel like our motivation drops a little, that we're just like over all these responsibilities and, you know, it's just, we're kind of done with it all. You know, we're done with the hard work and we just want to break. And it's kind of like that feeling like if you live in the northern hemisphere and like right now where I live, we're dealing with this whole winter won't go away thing, right? And we're all just waiting for spring and summer, and we're kind of just done with the drudgery and you know, the hard work of winter. You know, the heavy clothes and the all of that kind of stuff, the snow shoveling, and we're done with it. And so, you know, it's kind of like that when Saturn goes retrograde. So it's kind of a time to take a pause in that area and to consider, like, you know, don't stop, but sort of review your responsibilities and anything that's Saturnian in nature, right? Traditions, structures, rules, regulations, where we work really, really hard, where we bump into obstacles, all of that kind of thing. So, kind of time to take a step back and look at all of that and try not to let us get, you know, try not to let it get us down too much. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And eventually, you know, we get there, we get to the destination. Spring arrives or summer arrives for sure. That's going to happen because it happens every year, right? So it's going to happen this year too. We just have to be patient. And patience is a really major keyword when we're talking about Saturn. So I think that really that's the major astrology for the week. So I will show you the card that came up for us this week from the Rider-Waite Tarot, and that is the Two of Wands. So Wands is associated with the fire signs, right? Aries is a fire sign, all this Aries energy happening. So with Chiron moving into Aries, right? You know, the sun is in Aries right now. Mercury has been retrograde in Aries. So, this is about, you know, really kind of taking a look into the future and what we've envisioned, and making something real with it. And it's about planning and about, perhaps making some tough decisions um, about where we're going and what we're going to let go of, and um, you know, where we really want to see ourselves down the road. Um, it's also, I mentioned to you, like about patience, right? With Saturn, this is also very much about patience, being patient in the process of getting to where we want to go. And it's also about our personal power, right? Like we have the power to envision something and to create it. And we just have to, we have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, as I said. And we have to have the confidence. This guy has a lot of confidence that he is going to get where he plans to go. He's got big plans for the future, and he is turning his vision into a reality. And so that's kind of the energy that we're in right now, right? And slow and steady wins the race, as I always say. That's really particularly the way things have been going for us, and the way things will continue to go in terms of the astrology for the next little while, with a lot of energy in Capricorn. But I think that's about all I want to say to you today. Thank you for hanging out with me. And I'm really glad I finally got this done for you. And again, I hope you subscribe. And if you have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment, that kind of thing. Share this if you find it relevant and helpful. And please reach out, if you want a reading with me. Or if you have a question about something that you'd like me to do a video on as well. All right, take care. I'd love to hear how this week feels for you, and just hang in there. It's getting better. It's getting better. I promise it's getting better. Okay? I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.